All right, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic weekend and a fantastic day. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin and a few other things in today's live stream. We're going to look for potential setups and whatnot and see what we can do for the very beginning of next week. We got a brand new week starting, and a few things happened last week. We'll talk about those. Right now, Bitcoin currently neutral on the day. It's literally setting right at the open. ETH is just a little bit above the open, setting at about 0.1 5%, 0.5, not 1, 0.5%. And then the rest of the crypto market is a little bit of a mixed bag. We have Dash pumping today. It's up 14%. We have XMR kind of rolling over, pulling back a little bit. That's going to be why Dash is moving, because of XMR, but I'm not trading it or anything. So yeah, that's Pepe. It's been a while since Pepe has graced us with his presence. He probably thinks I'm talking to him since there's nobody else in the room. But anyways, Bitcoin is currently testing support. It's the same support it was testing Friday. Friday morning, we had a little bit of a decline, came down. We were looking for the prior day's low if we lost the area that we were long from, which we were long from there originally. Obviously, that trade got stopped out, and I fired another long off here. It is currently trying to hold a December high, and for me moving forward, that will be exceedingly important, as if Bitcoin loses this area, it's going to look like a failed breakout. Okay, it did break out. It broke out above the December high, and if it gets back inside of December's range, it's going to feel more like weakness instead of strength, and we want the overall narrative strength to hold. So we'll see what happens with it. But yesterday, Fartcoin was weak. I made a little bit of a joke saying that Fartcoin is like my favorite indicator for current Bitcoin price. It's not. Obviously, Fartcoin can trade under its own merit. But yesterday, it broke down, and it looked like it was going to break down yesterday, as it was making lower highs and pretty much lower lows all day. It ultimately rolled over. The reason I'm saying this is because Fartcoin is a pretty good metric of risk. If it's getting sold off, then you could potentially anticipate a risk off day. If it's being extremely bullish, then maybe Bitcoin is bullish. But it doesn't mean because Fartcoin rolled over that Bitcoin will, but it is a good indicator. Now, Fartcoin down here is currently trading at potential support on the monthly range. So if we look at what it did in January, it literally had a really good month, a very strong breakout. It took out the prior 2 months' highs, which is a good thing, but it's got to be able to continue, right? The upside continuation from that move is what we typically want to see. But it doesn't matter. If we fib the monthly range, you can see that we are currently testing the 618. So this could potentially be an area of support. If we look at what it's doing in the month of January, if we pull up the volume profile for only the month of January, you can see that down here, you're under the value area low. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean it is going to bounce, because it can trade down here, and then this whole value area will be it'll be moved, right? You'll see volume build in down here, so the value area high will drop, and then the value area low will drop. So it can move, it can change. This isn't set in stone. It doesn't mean that for the rest of the month we'll see downside prices. However, with the point of control sitting up here, that is important, as if it gets back up into this area and rejects, then I would anticipate a deeper correction for the month of January. But if it gets back above this and then holds like it was trying to do over in here, like it was trying to do through here, then obviously that would feel more bullish. It would feel like buyers are stepping up. It doesn't feel like that is what's happening right now. But as of right now, we did take out the prior 4-hour swing high. I wouldn't necessarily be looking for a larger drop from here, but I am interested in seeing what happens from here. Now, I did put on a short trade yesterday when it was trading up here, and the simple reason for the short entry, which was asked in the Discord while I was asleep, is the week open. Like, that is a huge factor for determining bias for price. If price has been trading above the week open, then you would like to see that act as support. If price fails at the week open, well, then any retest could be looked at as resistance. We had a nice bounce from here. This was the daily 21 exponential. It was down in here. So price built in support at the daily 21. Had a nice bullish reaction away from there. That is what we want to see. But when we pulled back through here, we retraced that entire move. That is a weak signal. We don't want to see big bullish moves get retraced, because if they get retraced, then that just simply means that price literally just ran out of supply here, repriced higher in looking for that supply, found it, and then rolled over. So it's not a good sign. It isn't at all. Whenever we have moves, we want to see those moves get maintained. So if it's moving up, we want to see lower highs, lower lows, or higher highs and higher lows, and then vice versa. So this does kind of signal that the trend is weak, or at least the near term. Long term, you're testing a potential area of support, right? But on the near term, all of this looks weak. It looks like it wants to go lower. So although I'm not interested in putting in any fresh shorts down here, it could be a short entry this evening as you're getting ready to open a brand new weekly range. So you could keep it on watch. I mean, it broke down yesterday. It couldn't hold the breakdown. It traded sideways for the rest of the night. And then here you are. Looking at the daily chart, it doesn't look great. But we look at the 30-minute, we bounced out of this area. This current candle has not taken out the prior candle's low, and there's 19 minutes left, but still, right? This doesn't look like a rejection. It looks like a new move is starting. I am short. I'm still holding the short. If it starts to break up and make higher highs and higher lows for the rest of the day, then I will close that trade out entirely and then just look to reposition myself somewhere else, as I'm just going to have to basically keep a short trade open, or at least put new ones on. I have a Bitcoin long open from Friday, but I want to hedge off that long only exposure at least until Bitcoin breaks out above the 100K level. If we get above that in the coming weeks, not, just next week, I'm going to give it about 3 weeks here. If it, starts to trend above 100K, then I will be full on bullish with Bitcoin. But with that being said, I don't want to only hold Bitcoin longs just in case while it's trying to suss out liquidity here. So Farcoin will be something to keep on watch to hedge off long risk on Bitcoin. Farcoin is a good risk, a good outlier risk, because it has no meaning. It's literally a meme token, but because it moves so good, it has a lot of liquidity. So people are very much interested in Farcoin as a trading vehicle only. Like, Farcoin is one of my favorite assets when it comes to the crypto world, because of the liquidity it provides, right? Because I'm able to get in and get out and take my money and run. I love it, right? So does other traders. So it is a good metric of risk, because since it has no underlying meaning or no underlying value proposition, it shows us sentiment. It shows us trader sentiment. So basically, if Fartcoin is making lower highs and lower lows, then that shows us that the sentiment on overall risk in the crypto market is bearish, right? But with that being said, we can't get too, it's not like the best signal. We don't want to put too much weight on it because it is traded on its own merit. But just because Fartcoin is selling off, it doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin will, because Bitcoin does have meaning and fundamental value. It's just an indicator, and no indicator, we don't put like so much weight on any one indicator. We look at a bunch of different indicators, and then we make our decision based on what those indicators are showing us. But we don't just take one indicator and be like, okay, Fartcoin is bearish, therefore Bitcoin is bearish. No, that's not how it works. But anyway, we'll see what it does today. Like I said, I don't want to hold the short because I'm short from yesterday. It only needs to retrace what it did yesterday, and that short will be useless. Now, I did take profits on it because it was a larger breakdown move. So it was a good trade. Made over $600 on a trade, still have a couple hundred in profits unrealized. Yeah, I don't want to lose that. So if it does start to produce higher highs and higher lows today, I think that would be a good sign for Bitcoin. We don't want to see Bitcoin break down here, right? So I'll close the Fartcoin short and let it make wherever it ends up going to try to get in on like the week high or something. If it looks like it's going to remain bearish. Line in the sand on Fartcoin is going to be the POC on the monthly range. So above that, we'll have a bullish bias. Below that, bearish bias, but only for the month of January. Still got a couple weeks left in this month. But anyways, yeah, this looks bearish. Obviously, it's what it looked like Friday. You were making resistance, obviously, and then it broke down. You're doing basically the same thing here, only resistance is a little bit higher, about 95.5. So we definitely want to see Bitcoin starting to make fresh day highs. So yesterday I posted that if you were looking for shorts on Bitcoin yesterday, the best trade or the best place to look for those shorts would be at Friday's open or Friday's high. I still firmly believe that. As if you're trading above Friday's high, I wouldn't be bearish. Bitcoin is not bearish on the daily chart. On the daily chart, it is bullish. It is very, very bullish here. You are making higher highs and higher lows since January's open. That's a fantastic chart. That's what we want to see. And obviously the near term has to get bullish before the long term can shift. So we definitely want to see Bitcoin trade out of this area. We want to see it get a little bit higher, then start to form a resistance. I don't want to see it just roll over from here. I will be a lot more bearish on Bitcoin if it drops back under the December open, or the December high, sorry. But it is building in support, and it's a very good support. This is what we want to see for upside continuation. Definitely. This definitely looks more constructive than it does bearish to me, because it has been building support here since Wednesday. That's literally what it did down here with a nice move. So if it does the same thing up here, we would anticipate another nice move in the upside direction. Right here is your weekly 21. And then if you watched yesterday's upload, lots of resistance here. It's a big fat zone. It goes all the way from 98.4 all the way up to 100K, right? And then if you fib it, depending on how you fib this range and other ranges, there's resistances all the way up to the all-time high. So, but a lot of people are really bearish here because of the overall structure on the larger time frame chart. We are professionals, so we only care about this data right here. We don't care about any other data because we know that everything that happened last year happened because of last year, right? Everything. So everything that's going to happen this year will be because of things that happened this year. What happened last year no longer matters. And I want you to take that approach for this entire year. However, that is not what everybody else does. What everybody else does is they're looking at this and they're allowing this overall structure to influence their decisions. Since this looks like a bear flag, people are looking for the bearish breakdown. That is good for bulls because that's going to provide the liquidity we need in order to make Bitcoin break back to the upside. So it's good that they're looking at what they're looking at. But anyways, it does look bad if you're looking at this. And I get it. It does. But, I mean, if you only look at that, then I would argue that when you were looking at this, right, you were expecting that same thing, this bear flag to break down and downside continuation. That's why I keep telling you guys to, don't look at the past, right? Operate in the time that you're in. New year, new month, let's go. Last year don't matter. But anyway, if you were looking for this to be bearish because it looked bearish, you were very wrong, right? And we know that now. So something like that could absolutely play out here where we are right now. There is nothing on the macro that suggests we're going to go into a bear market this year. However, there are charts and other indicators that suggest we could see a deeper retracement. There are a few things that I showed, right? We have major positioning happening right now in the VIX, and the VIX's price action for the last 2 weeks is telling us that people are positioning for a potential risk-off environment. You closed up, right? You broke out. This is a breakout last week, and you closed up. So higher close, higher close. It's pulling back. That's good, but the VIX is elevated. Remember, anything above 15 is elevated. It has been elevated all of 2025, essentially, right? So we definitely want the VIX under 15 in 2026. As long as the VIX is elevated, you have to be cautious. An elevating VIX literally means that volatility is expanding, so weakness is a thing that could happen. It's a bearish close, but it's continuing higher, right? You closed higher than the prior week. You took out the week's prior high. You have a higher weekly low. So next week on the VIX, this is going to be the range we're going to be concerned with right here. If we are trading under 1475 on the VIX for this entire week coming, then obviously we will have a more bullish bias. If the VIX is trading above 1475, we are going to have a cautious bias, understanding that for the past 3 weeks, the VIX has been moving up. We're looking at this, it's last year's data, but if we are continuing or wanting this trend to continue for upside on Bitcoin, right? But it is last year's data. So last year's data no longer is relevant for us. What is relevant for us? What has the VIX been doing for 2026? All right, that is relevant for us. This is what it's been doing. So very important for the VIX to take out last week's low to give us that signal of strength, right? As long as the VIX is trending down, then we can have a bullish bias on Bitcoin. Let me go ahead and put the yearly open on there. So yeah, I liked this reaction and I loved what happened Thursday and Friday. To be honest with you, I'm going to be loving what the VIX does as long as it's making lower highs and lower lows next week. I like Bitcoin, but if the VIX fails to break down, then Bitcoin could definitely fall back into December's range. So that was the one main thing that I was looking at in yesterday's upload, the VIX, and then this other thing here, the BOFA sell signal is also kind of worrying a little bit. Did I save it? I guess I didn't save it. Right here it is. I did save it. I just saved it under the wrong title. All right, so here is your BOFA sell signal. It's just a sell signal based on this info, right? It has done a pretty good job in marking some tops. It marked a top in late 2021 here, and we're much, much higher over here. So we have to be cautious. We can't be full on bearish, but we can definitely be cautious. So that's what we're going to be looking for this week. I would love to see Friday's low be the low. I would love to see Bitcoin moving higher, but in reality, because that's what we operate on here, on reality. As long as you're trading under this, you have to be cautious. Have to be cautious. So we'll see what happens today. I'm holding the long. I'm not going to close it. If it gets stopped out, that's fine. But we'll see. It looks pretty good on the near term here. We have a bullish engulfing. We got an hour, 35 minutes left on this candle's closure. A bullish engulfing off of a support is a good signal. It's not the end all be all, but it is a good signal. However, with an hour and 34 minutes, this could also end up as a bearish engulfing. There's plenty enough time for this thing to close down here. It's probably going to be a little bit boring out there. There are some important fundamental things that are taking place right now. One major thing that is taking place right now is it appears that the European Union wants to try to pick a fight with Donald Trump over this Greenland thing. So they are threatening to kick the U.S. out of NATO. That could cause a little bit of risk off. I think ultimately it would be a good thing if the U.S. was no longer the war officers. We would save a lot of money and we could bring a lot of troops home. But other people are going to act like this is a very bad thing. We got that going on. We also have a huge lawsuit that I did not know about with Elon Musk. Thank you, Ed, for posting that. That is slightly important information. Because he is literally suing. I haven't checked this info to see if it's real or not, but if it is real, this is huge. $134 billion. He is suing OpenAI for $134 billion. OpenAI isn't even worth $134 billion as far as I know. They don't make that much money. So this could literally destroy that company. Now, Microsoft owns a large stake in OpenAI, so we'll see how this goes. But if this starts to put pressure, downside pressure on AI, on the AI play, that could also spark a bout of risk off in other assets classes like Bitcoin, for instance. We had bank earnings last week. I thought it was going to be this week, but it happened last week, and the bank earnings were hit and miss. There was some good revenue beats, but there were other areas of worry. So, yeah, not great. So, yeah, the year isn't starting off with a bang, not in the way that we would typically want to see. And you can see here that the XLF, or the financial sector, did have a severe pullback last week. So you went from looking really good to giving it all back. Now, could this just be a pullback on the longer term? Obviously, the answer to that is yes. Right? It is just a pullback, but we don't ever really want to see an asset breakdown like this, as it could spark more near-term selling. We'll see what it does. All right, the monthly chart still looks okay as long as you're above December's open. I don't think there's that much concern to worry about in the banking sector. So this week will be very important. Tech sector still very choppy here, very sideways. That lawsuit, I figure, will cause more problems. But anyways, the communication sector actually breaking down last week with downside continuation. And then, of course, the growth versus value chart, which literally does signal risk off. Okay? This literally shows us that companies are rotating out of growth assets into value assets. And as you can see, I've got Bitcoin and the S&P 500 pulled up here. That does usually mark a period of risk off. It's not like a 100% hit rate. Those stocks could continue their slow grind higher, right? But they could also end up looking like Bitcoin does here in the next couple months, because they are rotating out of growth into value. So you are seeing the IWM pump right now, which usually is a good thing. It is a good sign. It shows overall healthy markets, right? It goes more to breadth than it does anything else. So this could be experiencing a pullback simply because people are rotating assets for other reasons. But generally, in my experience, when this starts happening, I start to get cautious. So another indicator showing us to be cautious. I mean, you can clearly see that this thing has done a really good job on marking some near-term tops, right? Only this one right here has not affected risk markets yet. But when I look at this chart, it looks to me like what assets are going to get hit first in a period of risk off. It's going to be the higher risk assets. So the fact that Bitcoin started selling off before this indicator started selling off shows us that riskier assets are going to see capital flights first because of that concern. We've literally got that already. We've already seen capital flight from Bitcoin. The one thing that we haven't seen capital flight from yet, S&P. So it literally does mean risk off. It's not screaming that you should be all out bearish. It's just saying, hey, you might want to be a little bit cautious when looking to buy all-time highs. And that's it. I am still firmly I still have a firm bullish bias on Bitcoin. As long as it's trading above December's high, I will continue to have that bullish bias. Now, a few things out there are starting to show some cracks in the surface, but we are going to see this whole world change. AI is going to fundamentally change everything that we know. And we are in a potential investing, like it's a massive potential investing opportunity. Everybody's calling this a bubble, and it hasn't even started yet. Right? The only thing they're using AI for right now on a large scale is as a freaking Google browser. Right? Wait till it's applied fundamentally across the entire market world. that's when you will see insane growth. So it is still early, and I would love to be able to participate in the tech rally. A lot of some very well respected analysts are saying that Google could very well replace a lot of other companies. And they do seem to be leading right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. So Apple's experiencing a slight pullback here. Couple months, and it's still pulling back. Microsoft has been pulling back for 4 months now. You can go back and say 6 if you want. You can be, that's right. I mean, it did make a lower high there. So yeah, it looks like this on the daily. It looks pretty rough right now. Buying opportunity? I think so, but I would need to see that support. We haven't seen support yet. It started to build in support, but then that support broke. So it's still heading lower. Nvidia, not really struggling that much, but it's not expanding in an uptrend either. Very choppy, very sideways, very inside range here. You took out December's high and rejected. Literally. Boom. Right? So as long as you're trading below this, this is resistance. And then here's Google. It looks great. Look at that monthly candle. Looks fantastic. I don't want to buy it up here. But if it does start to experience a deeper correction like Microsoft and Apple, then obviously I would be a buyer of Google. So we'll see what happens. But Google is the leader. It's leading every other tech company out there. Meta, multi-month correction. Avgo, December bearish engulfing candle. Intel's looking pretty good. Finally, it bounced off the lows and had a couple good months here. This month is no different. Tesla, looking like it's trying to break out. I like it higher as long as it's trading above December's open. Netflix, pulling back with some steam now. Damn. They're trying to buy Warner Brothers or some massive movie studio right now. That's causing some concerns. But obviously, theaters are dying across the world because of streaming services and go woke, go broke sentiments. People don't like to watch movies and get preached at, regardless how you feel about political policies. Regardless how you feel about them, they will obviously influence people's decisions. I'm the same way. When I watch a movie, I want to watch a movie. I don't want to be preached at about, my political leanings in either direction. If I was a liberal, I definitely wouldn't watch a Republican movie. And if I'm Republican views, I definitely don't want to watch a liberal movie. I want to watch movies to be movies. I'm a movie fan. That's what, when I was a little boy, my mother took me to the theater. That's how we bonded. Even as adults, when I would hang out with my mother, me and my brother, we would watch movies. We have seen a significant decline on movies since I would say about 2005. Movies used to be good. And then for like the last 15 years, it seems like they have been going down. Like they've forgotten how to make good movies. Netflix, not the savior. They have tons of bad shit on their platform. But we'll see what happens. Is Netflix a buy long term? Absolutely it is. Absolutely. Netflix is extremely volatile, but they make money. Now, a couple of their projects have started to not make money. I'm sure you can't spend $400 billion on a series if nobody's watching the series. But Netflix generates revenue based on subscription services. So maybe they're seeing or experiencing a decline in subscription services. That could be what's going on here. So do your due diligence, but still, this will be a fantastic buying opportunity. I was curious to see how big this correction is. It's only 34%. That's a pretty big correction though, 34%. I don't really see any technical levels, but here you go. Last year's open, you're already under it. And then obviously last year's low. Buying up, I think so. It's obviously it can go much lower than that. We know that. But if it fails to go lower, one could look at that as a buying opportunity. So yeah, we'll see what Netflix does here. The split could also cause people to take profits. I mean, let's be clear. Since 2023, Netflix has been a phenomenal investment. Taking profits, not a bad. Right here's your January 2023 open. Not a bad idea, right? It had an insane amount of growth in that period. So yeah. We'll see where this thing bottoms out, and then we'll look to attack it as long as everything looks good on the long term. All right, so Mr. Fartcoin opening a new 30-minute candle, still supporting the lows. Deltas are a little negative here. Bonk trying to hold support at the daily 21 EMA. Pingu trying to break down under the 21 daily EMA. It's a higher low from there. Shit, that's okay. I need to put a new one on anyway, but trying to see. Yeah, it hasn't. It's last week's low and it hasn't taken it out yet. So maybe you could put on a risk position at the close of this candle and risk last week's low. And then if you get stopped out, you could reapply that position only if it refuses to trade under this point. Because that's the fact of the matter, guys. This is going to most likely go up if it can't break down and trend under that weekly low. If it is breaking down and trending under that weekly low, then you don't necessarily want to be a buyer because it could be heading lower. It could be looking to go down to December's open. But the chart doesn't look great here. It also gave back every bit of its rally. I'm still short ZEC. Obviously, I want this to roll over. It has been slowly pushing on lows. A slow grind is not the way I want to see bearish price action behave. I want to see mass fear and mass liquidations. That makes me feel better about being in a short. Whenever I see like this inability to trend down, it does make me feel as if though buyers are trying to prop it up. The weekly looks really good. So maybe next week we get the expansion that we've been looking for. We'll see. We'll see. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I think Friday, I was talking that if it started to take out these highs right here, then I would bail on that short. I still feel the same way. But now I feel a little bit more like if it just gets back above the November open, I'm probably going to bail. Because I have quite a bit of unrealized gains on this right now. And my entire goal is to build this account up, right? So there's $863 of unrealized P&L right here. And I don't necessarily want to close out any of these positions. So we'll see what happens with it. All right. One thing I have not done yet is got the S&P's expected range for next week. So I could do that real quick. I need to know what the S&P's expected range is for next week. I wouldn't assume it's going to be much more than like 115 or something because the VIX is up. It's probably going to be less than 100 because Monday is a holiday in the US. Well, it's a bank holiday, right? The banks are closed. The stock market will not be open tomorrow. It's Martin Luther King Day. We'll see what happens, but with it being only a 4-day trading week, I would assume the expected move will be under $100. Expected moves have been about 85 points for the last few weeks. All right. Let me give it a second to pull it up. Hopefully everybody's doing good this week. But yeah, S&P struggling at 69, 66. $7,000 is a real big number for the S&P. So it makes sense that it struggles to get above that. But we'll see what it does. It looks like next week's going to be an 81-point move. So 81 points. But it's a 4-day week. So I got to use these holiday lines. So 80 points above that would be 7,020-ish. Use calculator and get the exact number. 6940. And it's 82 points, not 81. I round. So you got 81,989 is the expected move. Oh my goodness, where in the hell did Epic Pen go? So right here is shit. And it doesn't even work. But 81.9, so round that up, it's going to be 82. Sorry, I'm working on the other screen real quick. I don't know why I have to do that. There must be some kind of piece of code in. Right there is where you get your expected move for the S&P 500 if you didn't know. But anyway, let's go. 82. And then 72.2 is going to be the exact price. Oh. And it's just going to be 72.2 flat, simply because the S&P closed on 00, 69.40. Looks about right to me. Oh shit. Clear, clear, clear. 69.40 minus 22. 69.18. Oh wow, I was way off. That does not look right at all. I did something wrong here. Let me see. 69.40 minus. Yeah, I did something way wrong. 69.40 minus 82. 68.58. Thank you. There we go. And there's next week's range. Beautiful. Beautiful. And 1 second here. This is going to be old. No. I don't quite know what that is or this. So let's get rid of that. And let's get the daily 21 EMA moved up in its rightful place. And then the weekly. These colors are wrong. There we go. Okay, beautiful. I don't know why I'm dropping frames or why I had some dropped frames. My internet is freaking cruising today. Right before I went live, I ran the speed test. And that's freaking fantastic. Michael Saylor just bought more Bitcoin last Monday or last weekend. Basically, he always posts. When he posts, it's like a week later or the week later. So he could have bought Friday. He's posting about it on Sunday or Thursday, right? He's not allowed to post before he buys, but that's his cost basis. The dotted green line. It's getting closer and closer to $80,000. That should be good. It should put a floor under Bitcoin. Should be good, should put a floor under Bitcoin. So, crazy stuff. The high is, what did I say it was? 70.22. And the low was what? 68.58. All right, there's that. So yeah, gonna be a good week. It sucks that tomorrow's a bank holiday, but it is what it is. Forex will be open. Let's go look at Forex real quick. We haven't really been able to do a lot because a lot of last week the dollar was very sideways. It didn't break out until Thursday, and then Friday was another inside day. So that really sucks, right? Here's your freaking weekly open. You have a nasty move lower at the very beginning of the week, and then you don't do anything for the rest of the week until you break out on Thursday. Garbage trade, but that's what you look like on the weekly. Last week closed back above the weekly 21. Now, to be fair, the overall structure is bearish. The 200 is up here on the weekly chart. The 50 is up here on the weekly chart. But at least on the near term on the weekly chart, this will be the second close, and it's a higher close with a higher high. So you have upside continuation bouncing off the weekly 21 exponential. The daily 21 exponential is literally right here. So when this orange line crosses this orange line, that will be more of a bullish signal, at least on the near term, for the technical picture. The macro still supports a weak dollar, but dollar milkshake theory guy would beg to differ, right? So, since we don't know what the dollar rightfully should do with the current macro backdrop that we have with the US Treasury scenario, we will go with the technical picture. And right now, the dollar is bullish on the daily time frame. It is bullish on the weekly time frame. So next week, any pullbacks into last week's open would be the first major part or place to look for support. And as low as last week's low would be secondary support. So yes, I could be a buyer at either one of these two levels if they show me support. Now, I don't love the weekly open retest, is it's literally right here, and you're into resistance up here. The December open is going to be an objective level of resistance until price breaks above it. So it is buying at support into resistance, which it's okay. If it can just, that's a big enough move to buy, right? In Forex. That's definitely a good trade. I posted a short on pound dollar on Friday. That short worked without me, and I would consider that to be the trade moving forward. So if we're looking for dollar bull trades at 99.16 or at 98.67, then clearly we're going to need to wait for a pullback first. So I put an alert on pound CAD down here. It's got a bullish structure as far as weekly, daily 21 exponential retests. Here's your daily 21 retest. So I got an alert on pound CAD to watch last week's low. If pound CAD is trading under last week's low, I'll leave it alone. If it can get and reject down here and start to head back up, I will be a buyer there. Euro Aussie is a short on the daily and weekly time frames. So Euro Aussie trades or short trades would be first area of potential resistance would be here. Secondary resistance would be there. All right. If it's going to open up with a bang, then maybe it just takes out Friday's high and rejects. So one could look for shorts even down here. Now, is it extremely weak? Is it oversold? Nope, it isn't. Not on the daily. And it is a little bit on the weekly, though. So weekly is actually pushing into a support or a potential support here. So I don't love near-term shorts right where price is right now. Okay. But it's Euro Aussie, it's a cross pair. We'll be focusing mostly on the main majors, which would be Euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, and that's pretty much it. Those are the three majors for me. There was, oh yeah, and that reminds me too, what Ed also posted on Friday this. So Ed really good posts in the Discord as of late. I did not know this right here. I wish I would have known that. And that was at 10:30 in the morning on Friday. That would have been important to know. I did not know that Japan was warning of intervention. So that's where we saw that yen strength from, clearly. Right? Oh, it doesn't make sense to look for short dollar positions on USD JPY if the dollar is trending up. If the dollar is rejecting December's open, then one could potentially look for shorts on something like this. However, you are going against the trend. So if you're looking for shorts on USD yen, you are against trend. We don't look for against trend trades to work out that much. So just make sure you are quick to take profits and move stops if you are in fact shorting this pair. But if the yen intervenes, being short this pair would be a very good idea. Because when the yen or when the BOJ intervenes, they intervened here. You've seen 2 months of downside. They intervened here. You saw 3 months of downside. Yeah, if they're threatening intervention, then this trade starts to look a little bit less like a long. So we could be looking for shorts on this next week. Beautiful daily supply level. It's a daily supply level, so we'll see what it does, but still very freaking bullish. Add an alert there, because I might be interested in getting involved up there for a short, only if it gets up there and fails. All right, let's go look at Dash real quick. That bitch was moving. Is still moving. Holy shit. Dash might be a short here. All right, let me pull Dash up. Doesn't look like a short at all. Actually looks like a long. Is it held support through here? So it doesn't look like a short. I don't love the short. However, because of where it is, if it fails here, then I want to hold short. But that's only if it fails. It's a very easy place to mitigate risk. If it's trending above this, then I don't want to hold shorts. If it is not trending above this, then I do want to hold shorts, as support is going to be 78.90. Let's put a stop loss on there. It is very volatile. It is up 15%. So let's go with, nope, it's got to be more than that. Oh my God, see how tight that stop loss is? And that's a 20% stop loss. Why does this look so much different? Oh, I don't want to be short here. That's why. The short is actually up here. Shit. Yeah, we might eat a stop here. Sorry. I'm not really interested in holding a short from here. I'm more interested in holding a short from 85.62. From here, it's nothing. It's not a setup. Let's see here. Let's see how bullish the deltas are. Good morning, everybody. Hey, I find it difficult to hedge my spot Bitcoin because obvious can only trust off sure exchanges with small amounts to hold open. Not sure how you can hedge your spot this way. Wait, what? I find it difficult to hedge my spot Bitcoin because obvious can only, maybe it's a typo. I can only trust offshore exchanges with small amounts. Okay. So leverage is how. Leverage, my friend. If you are, I don't know how much you own on cold storage, and you don't need to tell us, right? It's irrelevant. It's just simple math. This is the best way that I find to describe it. So if I'm holding $50,000 off on cold storage, then how much do I need to support that or hedge it off? Well, first and foremost, you don't really need a large position because of 20x leverage. So all you need is about half of the amount of money that you hold on it offshores. That's about the size of position you want. So if you're holding $50,000 in cold storage, then on exchange, you want to be short at least $25,000 worth of Bitcoin. Remember, you're not trying, sorry, I'm not yelling at you. I yell when I get, when I start to get motivated or ranty. I'm not yelling at you, but you're not trying to make money on the hedge. You're just trying to limit your losses. You're just trying to limit the amount of money that you're losing. So you don't need to have a $50,000 position to hedge, because at some point with a half of what you own on cold storage, and that a $25,000 position on Bitcoin would only be about what? Let's see here. I got right now a $732 position open, right? On Bitcoin. Long. $732. But I'm controlling this much Bitcoin. 0.15. How much Bitcoin is 0.15. It's not quite a quarter, right? A little bit less than a quarter of a Bitcoin. So you can see, obviously this would not be a big enough position to hedge off a $50,000 portfolio. So double this would be, if you see what I'm saying. Remember, you're not looking to make money with a hedge. You're only looking to limit your downside losses. So if Bitcoin drops 50%, you no longer have $50,000 in Bitcoin in cold storage. You now only have 25%. Or I'm sorry, $25,000, right? It went from half. So half of 50 is 25. But how much would you make on this short if you had a $1,500 position on Bitcoin, controlling 25% of the asset with 20x leverage? How much money would you make on a 50% drop? Right? You're going to make, I don't know. You can do the math. Just a simple calculator will tell you, right? So, I don't even need a calculator. I could simply just say, right here, go into this stop loss thing and say, okay, say I want to take positions. How much would I make if Bitcoin were to go up 50%? Well, let's say 1,000 here. That would be half, right? So how much money would I make on a 1,000%? I would make $7,000, right? I'd make $7,000. So I'm going to lose half those. So my $50,000 went to $25,000, but now it's actually $32,000, right? So you're only limiting the losses. You're not looking to make money. But you can see how with 20x leverage, you can make a lot of money with a very small amount of money being used. Yeah. You just, so whatever you have, I could literally protect that amount with a very small percentage. Okay. Now, if you have millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, then I can see where that would be an issue. If you say can't trust holding $10,000, but with a $10,000 position, I can successfully hedge off $1 million owned on Bitcoin. That's the beauty of leverage. Yeah. So you don't need a lot of money to hedge your Bitcoin. It's pretty easy to just limit the downside risk. I have my position set to where once Bitcoin, if Bitcoin drops over 50%, then at that point I will start making money. Then my short position actually will come into parity with what I own. Not on the futures platform here. I'm just saying in general with the puts that I bought on IBIT, if Bitcoin were to drop another 30% from where it is currently trading, those puts are going to go into parity or close to parity. So if it continues to drop, then I will make more money than I lost on Bitcoin long, because my Bitcoin long has 0 leverage on it. It's simple math. There's addition, subtraction, a little bit of multiplication. You can figure exactly how much money you need to short and how much Bitcoin needs to drop and yada yada. I think there's a risk that Bitcoin could drop down to about 75%, right? So you could make it to where you will make every dime that you lose if Bitcoin drops 75% on a short trade. So literally, but the problem with that is always going to be you are limiting your upside potential. This is why a hedge shouldn't be ever at parity. Ever. Because if there's any point at which you become into parity on a downside move, that means you're limiting your upside. So a hedge is only supposed to take a portion of those losses away, not all of them. And you're not trying to make money. You're just trying to absorb a smaller loss than, say, other people are going to experience. Anyways, yeah, this is a better place to look for risk on Dash. Dash is super bullish here this morning. Let's go back down here. I got sidetracked a little bit. I want to see. There is a lot of sell side in here. Yeah, you're actually negative on deltas. Okay, I don't like where the point of control is currently, but it looks like at some point today, this point of control is going to migrate higher. Now, the problem with this is it's not heavy deltas like we got yesterday, but it is neutral or under neutral. It is more negative than it is bullish. And another thing I just looked at right here. When negative, the shorts pay the longs. And this, I don't know how often this is, but this is almost max. Almost max. So putting a short on here, not a good trade. Because you're going to pay. And if this is every hour, you're going to pay every hour. So a short squeeze is potentially about to happen on Dash. Now it could roll over because we know that there's a lot more selling pressure on Dash right now than there is bullish pressure. But if there's a manipulator involved, or the guy that basically built Dash, he owns the majority of the supply of Dash, he could easily, very easily influence price. If he's looking for a short squeeze, he's got the absolute perfect parameters to cause one. So I'm closing this short. I didn't see the funding rate. If I would have seen that, I would not have put the short on. That funding rate is terrible. If it's every hour, we won't know if it's every hour or not. I mean, there might be something that I could look at that'll tell me how often the funding rate is changing. If it's every 8 hours, then it's not that bad, right? But if it's every hour paying 1.15% to the shorts, if this thing takes 6 to 8 hours to roll over, it's going to be a difficult trade to make money on. We never want to see that. So yeah, I don't love this setup. I would actually almost rather buy this at support with that funding rate, and especially if it's every hour. The trade might not be a short, it might be a long. If it were to dump or start to dump, then that would obviously cause this funding rate to chill a lot as those positions start coming off to take profits. But yeah, right now I don't love the short on Dash because of the funding rate. So be very careful if you're trying to short Dash. Be careful. It's a dangerous one. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Tom, and good morning, Wes. Yeah, it's a very dangerous one. Lots of money at risk here. Let me go to save. Let me do popular. There we go. All right. Yeah, there's perfect conditions here. If I was the person that owned the majority of the Dash supply, I would be able to fix this in a way that would work out for me. I would literally be buying dips with very small amounts of capital. You've got a bullish engulfing daily candle here. Yeah, if it's pushing above yesterday's high, I don't like it for a short anyway. You know what I'm saying? The only way I like it for a short is if it rejects yesterday's high. It looks like it's about to start squeezing soon. That's a very, very big explosive move. So it looks like buyers have had their fun with XMR. Now they're rotating into Dash. Boom. Yeah, ZEC, they're just like, or they're rotating out of Zcash into Dash. Maybe they don't want to get involved with XMR. Maybe they would rather get involved with Dash, or it's easier to get involved with Dash. It's what it looks like. I mean, this is coming off the back of a pullback here on XMR. Massive explosive move on Dash. XMR topped out Jan 14. Yeah, it looks like a short squeeze is going on here. This is madness. If you're going to try to get involved with this, first and foremost, it's doing what I don't want to see it doing, which is trading up over yesterday's high. I only can get involved with this if it rejects yesterday's high. As long as it's trading above yesterday's high, the upside target is here. So I can't get involved until there. You see what I'm saying? But I don't want to get involved there if it can't reject here, because it's squeezing shorts. It's doing the opposite thing that I want it to do for a short position. I know I can't predict when it's going to roll over, but I know for a freaking fact it's not even trying to roll over if it's above this price. I know that for a fact. So there's no point in getting involved with it up here, not knowing that it could go there. And that's the only other price I could get involved. None of these prices in here will push me into a short. And with that funding rate the way it is, even if it fails here, that would be hard to get me involved in a short. If you see much of this or a continuation towards this, this is probably going to rip. It's not showing any signs of slowing down. Now, obviously, it's squeezing some shorts right now. That's why this is only buys. You don't see any sells in this because these are all stop losses being triggered. Yeah, lots of bullish demand showing up here. So upside continuation means that the squeeze is working, right? Be careful with it. God, it's got so little volume. No, it doesn't. It's got over 10 million traded today. I'm sure that is a huge 24-hour change. Yeah, people are getting their asses handed to them right now. We have to see a rejection, otherwise the short ain't happening. I couldn't buy it up here, but a lot of buyers or a lot of sellers getting their butts beat right here on this. Is there anything else that we can, let's go take a look at this one. See what's moving. River's moving again. It's up 53% today. Got a decent funding rate, but a terrible technical setup. Yeah, River's got a bad technical setup. Very bad technical setup. It traded right down to the daily 21 and bounced hard, and it's taken out yesterday's high, so this doesn't look like a short yet. Funding rate's okay, but plenty of divergence. You had daily divergence here. So when this day closed, it closed higher than this and it made a higher high. That's a lower high on the indicator. So there was your daily divergence. There is that divergence playing out. Boom, boom, boom. 3 days of downside. still held support at the 21, above the 50. So now you have a whole new bullish cycle taking place. Up, 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 new day, hot, new all-time highs. So none of this over here is divergence. You might have new divergence today, depending on how today closes. But there's no technical setup. There's no easy trade here. Yeah, you're above everything here. There's really no setup here. Not even a frickin' 4-hour supply. There's nothing here. There's old 4-hour res, but trading above yesterday's high. So it's currently squeezing right now. Doesn't look good for a short at all. This would have looked good for a short if it failed here, right? This would have prompted a setup for us. Lost the 50, boom, perfect. That's what we want to see. Here's the pullback into the 21, back into the 50. This is the previous 4-hour swing high. That's where our sell would have been. Notice how that is also the midpoint of this candle, which literally means this is a legit breakout because of all those shorts that put that trade on. Like I said, this is almost a perfect setup, at least on a 4-hour chart. This would be a perfect short setup on a 4-hour chart, wouldn't it? Not looking at the daily or weekly or anything else. Just looking at this chart and these indicators, this is the perfect short setup. The fact that it pushed and smoked all those shorts and closed up here and you're getting upside continuation means these shorts were on the wrong side. Now, if you put a daily and a weekly chart on that, this isn't even a short. It's still way too bullish. So that's the difference between like a perfect setup versus a setup that you would have still taken it. I would have still probably taken it, the trade, but I wouldn't have lost more than $30 on it, and I would have left. I would have been done. Because this doesn't fit our rules. It only fits our rules if it fails there. Now, you could go in a small time frame and see how that played out, right? To kind of help yourself back test to look for perfect setups. So right here would have been that perfect setup as it traded up and stopped. You would have, boom, hit the sell button, thrown your stop up there, $30, and within 15 minutes, you would have been stopped out. So within 15 minutes, you would have known this is not a short. And then the next 15-minute period said, yeah, not only is it not a short, but we're currently squeezing those shorts. So no more trade setups on it, right? There's no more there's no more setup. The setup is gone. So you would not have gotten chopped up on this. This would have been a one setup trade that didn't work. Look at Dash. Look what it's doing right now. To everybody that is still trying to short this, they are literally getting screwed over and over and over again, and they just keep banging their head off their desk saying, why don't this technical shit work? How come I suck at trading? Hit it to sell button again because I'm missing it. Now it's going to roll over. Yeah, don't do that stuff. Stop doing that if you are doing that. Very simple to know when our trades are working and when they are not. Therefore, it makes it easy to mitigate risk. Yeah. Not a setup on river. Not a setup on dash. FRAX has got 886,000, so it hasn't hit a milli yet. This is a new asset. It is trying to chop people up right now. There's not even enough data on this for a 21 EMA, but at least there's enough data for the 4-hour RSI. It is similar. You even have a 4-hour supply zone to watch over here, but the people that shorted it last 4-hour session based on that have now been stopped out. So literally the only way you can take this trade, it is also paying the longs. So you will be paying every however much to hold that short. But if it is a short, it's got to roll over here, right? It can't continue higher. It has to roll over. And it has to roll over now. You've got less than 30 minutes on this 4-hour close. So if it closes above this white line, you're going to have a fresh 4-hour breakout on the indicator. That means the short isn't working. Now, is it possible that this ends up being a bull trap? It is. So where's the new short setup? Here. So I don't like it because it isn't working yet. And if I did like it, when I like to trade it, it works immediately. Or at least starts to work immediately. This didn't even start working immediately. It broke out and closed above and then put in an upside continuation 15-minute candle. It's not a beautiful setup. It's not a good setup either. This is going to be looked at as a buying op. Remember, you're breaking out now, so as long as you're trading above this candle's low, it's a buy, not a sell. They bought it there, and upside it went. There's a method to our madness. We definitely don't want to be the guys that are beating our heads off of our desks. We want to be the guys that are calm, nice, happy. And the only way to do that is to grow the account. This isn't a short setup either. It could be later, but in a lot of scenarios when alts get hammered, they get hammered hard quickly. When this happened, it didn't really even give an opportunity to get short. However, you could have watched this 4-hour candles close if you were trying to force the issue. Hopefully you were taking profits on this one of these two candles and then moving your stop to break even, and boom. So it looks like the bulls are firmly in control of literally everything that we've looked at today. Fartcoin, however, starting to show that weakness. Okay, so you did take out the previous low. That's a good sign. You are rejecting a resistance right now. That's resistance. So if Fartcoin can fail to close a 30-minute candle above 34.28, you could look for shorts on Fartcoin. If it starts closing higher 30-minute candles, it isn't a short. If the short's going to work, this 30-minute candle maybe gets higher than that wick and then rejects. Because this is the start of the the expansion to the downside, right? So for upside continuation, we don't want a higher close up in here. So to tighten that entry, instead of looking at that prior 4-hour swing, you could watch for entries here, because you know if it's trading above, there's a chance that it's going to close above. So keep an eye on the time. There's 21 minutes left on this candle. So the only way that you're going to know if it's going to close above or not is it trading above it? And is there like 20 seconds left on the close? If the answer is yes and yes, then you're not looking for the short. If you tag that and reject, you could put the short on. But I don't know what it's going to do. And then Bitcoin, like I said, it could end up closing as a bearish engulfing. It is a bearish candle. It is an engulfing candle. But to be a good, like a weak signal for a short, you would want to see this close under this close. Show you that not only is it a bearish engulfing, but it's also a bearish engulfing that broke support. And then at least that would trigger shorts to be able to start looking for shorts here on the next 4-hour candle that's going to open in 20 minutes. If it opens here and pushes up to there and fails, then shorts will jump on it. If this candle doesn't close under this close, then there's going to be less shorts jumping on it. Quite a bit of stuff. But not loving this at all. I hate when it tries to break down and fails. Tried to break down and failed. Tried to break down and failed. But then ultimately it did break down right here and give us that lower close, but not really much continuation. Very small range. Well, this thing is just trading slow. And this thing isn't. I'm telling you, don't get lured in by these kind of emotion springs. That does nothing but causes emotional traders to spring into action and lose more money. This isn't a setup. As long as it's trading above this, it isn't a setup. It's going up there. Potentially. We don't know if it'll go up there. But one thing we know that it isn't doing is rolling over from 85.80. So that invalidates the setup. That's a short invalidation level. That's why it's just better to get off the small time frames, because you can see exactly what's playing out here. It just needs to go up to where? To make this a legit break. We can see. We can figure it out real easy. Won't be perfect, but it'll be close. Yeah. If you get a candle close like this, this is a legit breakout. Then buyers will be looking to buy all the way down here. Yeah, leave this alone. This has got a lot of bullish momentum. It could be easily manipulated. I'm not saying that it is being manipulated. Simply, we know it isn't being manipulated right now because we know that there's a lot more selling pressure in it. So because the freaking funding rate is so high, that would bring me in as a buyer. Well, I could literally buy a retest of this wick and the next 4-hour candle if it pushes down to here. I could be a buyer there because of the funding rate and because of what this candle is showing me, the legit breakout. So I could be a buyer here, eat a stop, and then put on another long down here easily, just because of the funding rate. So that's what's going on here. It probably isn't being manipulated. It's probably legit traders trying to make money on a Sunday. XMR bouncing off of support. Like, all the shorts think this thing is done, and this is a perfect buying opportunity. This is where I would have looked for the long. I don't love the long because it's lost this, but I understand that it could have fell down there just cause of profit taking. Might not have anything to do with short sellers. This could be legit profit taking that forced price back off all the way down here. As long as you're trading above this, the risk is still to the upside. That's the weekly open. It's not going to look good if it closes below the midpoint, but it doesn't mean it's over. Here's a candle that did close above the midpoint, and you still had 2 weeks of pullbacks. So, yeah, as long as you're trading above this price, the risk is to the upside. And this is the first real pullback you've had since you made fresh all-time highs. This is all-time highs down here. I can't believe that it did that. It really sucks because we could have participated in that had we just been a little bit like okay with buying an overbought 4-hour market. That would have been a beautiful entry and an absolute beautiful trade to participate in. Fantastic. That was a huge rally. I wouldn't have been able to make the entire 59%. I probably would have started being okay with 30. You know what I mean? But still, nice freaking rally. And as long as you're trading above this, the risk is to the upside. However, this would have been a pretty valid short setup to take when it was doing this. I just didn't love it. It's easier to see in hindsight that it worked. That's why I didn't bring it up, because I honestly didn't love it. It was like so close to the open. Trying to short above the open, it's okay, but it's a super bullish asset. That's not the best setup. This one is a much better setup. It just ain't working yet. Or it is working, it's just not working in the way that we would want it to work. Yeah. Yeah. The seller's back's against the wall and buyers know it. Look at that, man. And they're still trying to short it. They're still trying to short it. They're literally they're the liquidity that's causing this to continue to go up. Insane. They're taking trade that isn't even on their side with the funding rate. And I mean, not even like a little bit. Like, it's way, way expensive to even short this asset. If you sit in this, if it's like every hour, to sit in this for an hour is going to cost a shitload of money. And if you sit in it for 8 hours, you're probably not even going to be able to make your money back on one trade attempt, let alone 30. I know people hate to hear this kind of stuff, but I feel like that's still what people are doing. You have to be shorting every swing high to make money on these downside moves. You know what I mean? In order for you to participate in this short, in this day, I know for 100% certainty you also shorted this day, and that day. So you probably, even if you caught this short and nailed it all the way back down to the weekly open, you probably still didn't even make your money back. And that's not me being a dick. I'm just trying to help you. If you're listening to my voice and that's you, I'm here to help you. I used to do that myself. It wasn't until I quit doing it that I started making money. Yeah, there's no way. Okay, let me take that back, right? Some people might have made money had they waited for this day. They waited for it to close, and it closed under the prior day's open. So if they waited for that and then shorted daily res, they might have made money. Just because they were patient enough to at least give it a couple days to even let the short sellers know that the upside is done or potentially done. And that was not a fun trade to sit in, was it? So it's going to be after this candle. This candle was Thursday, so we'll look at Thursday's close. Here's Thursday's open. So Thursday's close would be here. Boom. So people that shorted on Friday, they waited until London and they faded it, and they were scared here. So only about 4 hours they were sitting in this short. Or even the smarter people waited for this candle to open, push up into that swing high, then fired the short button, which is what I would have done had it been me. Yeah. Don't try to short when it's moving up. Please stop doing that. If it's you, don't do that anymore. I'm going to help you make money, but you got to put what I'm saying to work. Everything that I say, you got to start trading like that. Then you will start to see growth. I promise you it will happen. And then you're going to feel like a god tier trader. It's going to look so much clearer to you. I never am trying to pick direction. I see what's playing out and I anticipate my entries ahead of time, and that's it. That's it. There's $2,889 in my account right now. Just last week it was at 1,000. Oh, I am wrong. Sorry. There's $3,715.02. It was just at 1,000 a couple days ago, or a week ago, give or take. 2 weeks. It's been 18 days. I started the year off with $1,000, and it was a pain in the ass for the first couple, because I didn't have enough money to even really trade. But now I got a nice little cushion, and things will start to work out. And then in a couple, however long, I'll be dropping it back down again and starting 2026 off the same way I did 2025, 2024, 2023, 2022. Yeah. Stop trying to short these super bullish assets, man. At least let them show you that maybe it's done. And when I mean maybe it's done, I'm talking days. You want to see lower than midpoint closes, and then you want to see next day bearishness. Then you can maybe start looking for trade entries on it. And only then. While it's closing like this, you leave that bitch alone. It is not a short. 100 times I have to say that. And it still don't matter. But yeah, it ain't a short. And right now it's pulled back to the weekly open. So now those buyers are going to probably show back up. Let's see if it has what its funding rate looks like right now. See, that's another thing. If you look at this Zcash trade that I'm in right here, it's not a lot of money, but it's more than I want. Do you see this right here? Okay, I don't like that. So right now I've lost 16 bucks. That's what I've realized. That's a realized loss. I have 460 on this as open in, or that I could clearly take, right? So I'm not going to lose money on this trade. But look how much I paid just to set in the trade. That's almost 10%. Look at the entry. That's what money I'm putting at risk right here. That's my money, right? This is house money. This is my money. And of my money that I put at risk, I've already lost almost 10% of it. That is probably worse. Well, it's, to be fair, it ain't too bad on XMR. Right now, the funding rate is paying the shorts on XMR. That's not a good sign. The reason they're paying the shorts is because there's more demand for this asset than there is sellers. That's why they're paying the shorts. They're trying to influence people to come short the product in order to make it fair market value. But anyways, let's go back to Zcash real quick and see what its funding rate is. Yeah, I'm still paying the longs. So this is telling me as long as I'm holding the short, I'm gonna have to pay the longs. There are more people buying this. Oh, sorry, selling this than there are people buying it. So they're trying to level the playing field by influencing longs to come in. Hey, we'll pay you. You just come in. And they have been paying them because people have a short side bias on this. But yeah, I mean, just be careful. Pay attention to that stuff. It really matters. You might not notice it, but it really does. That's the reason why I'm keeping my eyes on this first and foremost. I need to make all of my money back to break even on this trade. So it's not that I definitely got to get out of it with a couple $100 just to break even, right? So if this unrealized P&L drops down to say 150, I'm eating a loss on this trade. And that's like I'm gonna eat it's gonna be a loss. I gotta get out of this thing with like $250 to be able to even make sure my P&L goes up slightly. And look for the better setups. There are good setups, and they happen all the time. There's not perfect setups all the time, but there are good setups. You just can't force the trade. You gotta allow it to not work, and then you set back. Take those 3 losses and move on. Go wait till tomorrow. 3, not 3 trade, 3 different products, 3 losses on each product. That's 9 losses, right? No, 3 trades. You lose 3, you walk away for that entire day, no matter what happens. You're trying to short Bitcoin and you get stopped out 3 times, you close your computer down for that day. I don't care if you come back tomorrow and Bitcoin's down here. It does not matter. It's irrelevant. You are not going to catch it because you were too early. Too early matters. It's a loss. I am early sometimes, often. And it still matters. Being early does suck. I get it, but that's just all part of doing business. It's because we can't predict the price. Anyway, let's go see if there's anything else other than Dash that's moving today. ETH is looking pretty good. Like, that's a bullish engulfing. This is upside continuation. So it doesn't make sense to me why Fartcoin is even, or was even down. As long as Ethereum is pushing like that, Fartcoin might not be a short. It might be. Because people love Ethereum and know Fartcoin is useless. So Fartcoin could be just done. People could just be getting out of it and saying, screw it, I'll trade something else. So it could still in theory roll over, and at least it did what we said it has to do before we could even look for the short, right? It's got to at least not close a higher 30-minute candle. I don't like this close. I would have much rather seen that happen, entered the short trade, and then watch this close down in here or even down in here. But now, because it closed all the way up to here and so close to the entry, that really means what we need to see in the next 30 minutes is this candle needs to take this low out. So as long as that's not happening, your trade is going to be at risk of getting stopped out. It's 11 o'clock. So if it's going to roll over, if it's going to continue from this, it should do it now. Here is the deltas. It's negative, right? Up here's the dotted line. So that does mean there's more selling taking place in Fartcoin today than buying, at least on the market. These are market sells. This just literally means that people are hitting the market sell more aggressively than the limit buy. And it's the opposite of that when it's above the zero. When it's above the zero and heading up, that means there are more aggressive people hitting market buy than limit sell. It's not a perfect indicator, and it doesn't have a perfect hit rate, but at least you can see that earlier this morning, because then it was trending down, right? From the open going into the London session, the sellers were not only in control, but they were also causing volume to trend lower. They were super aggressive. But now, right in here is when that super aggressive selling stopped. Right? When it's aggressive, it's going to trend, right? That, like this did. Lower. That's super aggressive selling continuing to take place. When it stops, that means something changed. The sellers stopped being aggressive right here for some reason. I don't know what that reason was, but for whatever reason, the super aggressive sellers stopped. Now, or at least since then, the aggression has been more on the buy side, which that makes sense. If I'm a super aggressive seller up here, I'm going to stop being a super aggressive seller down in here. In fact, if I missed this wick to take profits on, then I definitely got it here. So they were actually getting out, and that's what stopped the super aggressiveness. They no longer were trying to push or look for downside continuation. Now that it's still heavily shorted because it's still under the zero line, but you can at least see from 230 beyond, the buyers have been more aggressive than the sellers have been. To the point of even causing it to trend. But now the sellers do look like they're trying to come back, or at least the more aggressive sellers are, and price responded to that. But I'm not really seeing downside continuation in the way that I would want to, but it's the weekend also. Oh yeah, just be careful. I definitely don't like this price action, but you still got 25 minutes, right? So I definitely like that, but I would want to see that continue. It'd be hard pressed to get me to stay in the short if price is above this. It's just not working out. And that can cause these sellers that are short here and here to jump out, right? If they don't get their move and price does start to push back up into this area, that's going to force their hand. And then they become buying pressure because they're exiting as price is pushing above their entry. So they went from causing selling pressure to now causing buying pressure, which would obviously force price higher, especially if these aggressive longs that have been showing up from down in here are right. So I don't love Fartcoin for a short as long as Ethereum is looking decent on the day. I mean, you've been trending higher on Ethereum for the last 12 hours, or at least for the last 8 hours. That's a long time. That's damn near an entire session. It is. It's from the London session all the way into the New York session. It's an entire session. So the bulls have been in control of Ethereum pretty much all morning. That could change. I delete this thing so many times. Yeah, there's not really any aggressive buyers or sellers in Ethereum today. There's really nobody doing anything. So we did just get our close, and ZEC did not close under. You piece of shit. There is aggressive selling happening, though. At least I can say that. Or at least I can say there is more aggressive selling happening right now than buying. Or there was more aggressive selling than buying happening. I wouldn't want to see a bullish candle close up into there, because then that flips. From here, the buyers were more aggressive. It's been a long time since this thing broke down too. 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours since the sellers got their move that there was no continuation for 3 hours. Very choppy, lazy price action on the weekends. We deal with this every weekend. At least it's heading in the right direction. Does anybody have any questions or anything? There's only 3 of us even here, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll answer them. We'll look at an asset or whatever. And if not, we'll wrap it up. I'm just waiting for Zcash to roll over, and I would love to see Bitcoin trade out of this area today. I would love the week to open on Bitcoin higher. I would love to see the weekly open happen up in here. Get away from this December high. As long as Bitcoin is trading in here, it's threatening a lower close, and I don't want to see that. It's not bullish on the week by any stretch of the imagination, so it very much still looks good like this. I just would love this weekly to close up in here, as that would give next week buyers an opportunity to buy a higher low, right? I would love the week to close up above the December high, but there's just nothing happening today. This is as sideways as you can get. I mean, you even started to do that outside stuff. Remember, when price is doing this, guys, it's impossible for us to make money. Right? We only make money when it trends and trends in our direction. So if it's doing this, it literally means it's anybody's game. And the trades now can't even be put on till up here or down here. Just annoying price action. But I do love how it moved away from here rapidly. This is Saturday's open right here. So this was the reaction that I did want to see on Friday. So this is literally just Saturday and Sunday trade here. All of this. But at least the buyers did defend December. It wasn't the December high that they were buying. We know what they were buying. They were buying that prior day low. That's where the buyers started. And that's a good close. It closed right back up above that spot. Can you look at gold, Riot, and Mara? Absolutely. Okay, so now it looks like sellers are showing up, but it still ain't a sell. That was a good close. It closed right where I said it could close. Look at that. Look how perfect that is. Your buyers are going to be buying all the way down to here. That worked out absolutely flawlessly. I can't believe that. It literally closed right where we drew the line up there. It didn't fire that wick to the upside that I drew, but close enough. Yeah, you're going to have to take this low out before any real sellers are going to jump on this. And I doubt real sellers jump on it as long as that funding rate is so terrible. Gold. Gold is chopping sideways, accumulating highs. It's super volatile up here, so very dangerous and super volatile. That was a pretty nasty move lower. That was when the dollar was breaking out, probably. I mean, there's not really much I can say. I mean, it looks like it accumulated and is moving higher. So, I mean, I can't really be a seller on gold until I see at least some kind of selling pressure. We did see selling pressure here. So where I would have wanted to see the sellers win the battle would have been right here, and they lost the battle. So I don't think I could get involved unless it fell back under here and then treated that area as resistance. That'd be the only way I'd be a seller. And since I can't be a seller, I would be a buyer as long as you're not taking that low out next week. Please do not get in my way. You cannot drive in my lane. And you're so far away from that level. I mean, this looks like a selling, like you just saw some selling and then the market closed before they could get continuation. If you see this thing trading up into here tonight, I would not be trying to sell gold. Not for a trade. So really what's going to matter is, does the dollar start the week off strong or does it start the week off weak? If the dollar starts the week off weak, then I would say gold buyers will be more prone to step in on those low, higher lows. And sellers will be watching for lower highs. There's no real technical setup here. You're trading so far above the daily 21, so far above everything that matters. I don't even have... Oh, right there. Yeah, it's bullish. It's lost a lot of daily bullish momentum. And there's bearish divergence here. From here to here. There's your bearish divergence. So I would imagine, but you have, I mean, there's clear divergence here to there as well. And since it never went below overbought, I would say that divergence never played out. In fact, that divergence was what allowed this continuation move up, was those sellers getting stopped out. But this is the second round of divergence. So basically, obviously this thing can continue to trend up, right? But I would say that a lot of buyers aren't going to be so aggressive this week on gold, because there's divergence here. Divergence that's coming off the back of other divergence. So you basically have 2 rounds of bearish divergence here on the weekly that hasn't played out yet. So if gold starts the week off weak, then maybe you could look for a downside scalp, anticipating that the bearish divergence is going to play out. So you would be looking for DXY strength. And if you get that, then I guess you could look for shorts at something like 4-hour res, or just if it barely peaks above where it closed and then drops, you could potentially fire off a short there. Right? But it's not a beautiful short. There is huge weekly bearish divergence on gold. So you could see gold pull back this week. If it's trading above this bearish 4-hour swing high, I would not put a short on, because another short squeeze could be coming. But if it stays under this, then it shows that inherent weakness, like it can't even get up there. Then you could potentially look for the short because of that second round of bearish divergence on the weekly. All right, let's go take a look at Riot. So Riot got pretty bullish here. That's good. It's about time. I wonder what this is about. Oh, announces land acquisition and lease agreement with AMD. That's huge news. Bitcoin mining stocks rally as Riot Inc.'s AMD deal, and Galaxy targets massive expansion in Texas. So that's what's going on there. That's why you've seen such a bullish move on Riot, even though Bitcoin wasn't that strong on Friday. It was trading under its own merit, but that's a good sign. So on Riot, obviously I would not want to see it trading under last week's low. You've gotten 2 good weekly closes here. So, I mean, it would be hard pressed to get me to be a buyer on Riot at this week midpoint, but if that area could act as support like 2 days, then I could potentially get that entry a little bit tighter off of one of those daily swing lows. So hopefully you're understanding me and following me. Basically, I would want to see, like, say it gaps down. I just want to see it pull back into this area and then close. But not on the week. A day candle looks like this. And then the next day candle looks like this. Then I could potentially be a buyer if it rejects going lower than that. So if this next day opens, puts in a wick down, and then rejects, then I could be a buyer right there. And it would be around the weekly midpoint. But the entry would be tighter around that lower swing low on the daily chart. But it would be like the weekly midpoint would be driving that trade decision, if you will. So watch 1724 next week on Riot. If it builds in a multi-day support, you can be a buyer there. If it doesn't, this is where the buyers should show up. 1530. Looks good, and I hope it helps Bitcoin be bullish this week. Because Bitcoin lacked that confidence to break out above the 21. It didn't even try. That's why I said in that yesterday upload that Bitcoin kind of lacks confidence. And I don't mean, like, Bitcoin is obviously a protocol. It doesn't have any human emotion. It's the human emotion that lacked the confidence. So basically, people were taking profits ahead of the 21 exponential. They had no confidence whatsoever to hold longs beyond that. And you could see it because of how Bitcoin traded. Bitcoin only had 1 day of upside continuation, one side expansion last week. Only 1 day. Then it spent the rest of the week chopping sideways. That's not confidence. But at least it's holding support still. So that's good. That's it. That's the only good thing we have on Bitcoin. But Riot seems to be trading under its own merit. And there you go. Wednesday gave you the upside continuation. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nothing. But Riot, that's good news for Riot as a company, because they're going to expand and potentially be able to make more money in the future off that expansion. And then Mara. So Mara probably experienced what we call a sympathy bid. And it did. It wasn't nearly as big as Riot, but look what you got going on here. Right? That looks good. If I would have been buying the day low. See, Riot is overbought. Mara, not. So Mara is a better long setup based on the technicals. I could be a buyer on Mara as long as it's not trading under Thursday's swing low. Friday's buyer stepped up right where I would have wanted to buy it and bought it. That would have been an absolute perfect trading opportunity for an intraday scalp for an upside move. It absolutely worked to perfection. They bought the 50 retest and the 21 retest, and they put that trade on right at Thursday's low. And that was a higher close. So obviously moving forward, this will be support. So you could, in theory, be a buyer on Mara as low as 1064. If you close a daily candle under this price, you are no longer looking to buy it. You're going to get stopped out. Okay? But as long as days are closing above that 21, I like it for upside continuation. Of course, Bitcoin needs to push up. So if Bitcoin sells off today, then I wouldn't be so bullish on Mara. But as long as Bitcoin is moving in the upward direction, looking good on the daily chart, I like Mara, I like Riot, I like Strategy, I like basically anything that trades based off of Bitcoin's price action. They don't, as far as I know, they don't make good money, these miners, and that's what hinders them from being so bullish. I don't know if you will ever see Mara and Riot ever perform like they did back in 2020, and that's why everybody is holding this freaking thing, because they're hoping and praying that one day it does this again. I don't think that ever happens. Ever. This was a different time. There were more people trading Bitcoin because everybody was at home trying to learn how to trade. There was so much more volume and volatility and hype and literally everything that you would need in order for an asset like this to skyrocket. But if that ever does happen again, then obviously these are the prices you would want to be a buyer on Mara. As low to those monthly lows as possible. So clearly people don't like Mara that much at $22 a share, but they are more than okay with buying Mara at $10. Because it could not push lower than that. So that's good. That's what you want to see moving forward. Long-term potential longs at $10. If it's trading under $10, be very careful. Maybe stop at like 9 or something. But yeah, I agree. Down here is a good place to be a buyer. It's the bottom edge of the range. So right now would be like a perfect time to start selling puts on Mara at like under 10. You could sell like the 950 strike puts and generate revenue. It's spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks down here with no downside continuation. I don't want to see it break down, like fail to break out here at 11 and then push back down to 950. Because that could indicate that the sellers are getting out of it. But if it can hold 950 or up, I like it. I guess. I think people would be better off just to buy Bitcoin and leave all this stuff alone. But that's never going to happen. People love buying these things because they're cheap and volatile. Be careful. But yeah, it looks good. I definitely would want to see last week's low on Mara hold. Any pullbacks into that area, it's got to hold. and then look like a short to you as it's nearing November's close. Lab USDT. I don't have that. Let me pull it up here. Lab Tether. Is there a specific exchange you want me to look at? Otherwise, I'm most likely going to just look at Binance because it's the biggest exchange. Very good looking weekly candle here. Overall chart looks like shit, but it looks like it's found support on a long-term basis. You're above December's high, so as long as you're above December's high, I would be more optimistically bullish on the near term. You're up on the year. You're breaking out of what should have been resistance, and you're seeing upside continuation. It's happening all today. All of this is happening today. Not really. It's been happening since the very beginning of the year. You had one day, and this was even a higher low, wasn't it? Was this low higher than that low? Yes. Was this low higher? Yep. All right. So that sparked off demand. People front ran the yearly opening range. They were buying 12,157. There's the break. Continuation, upside continuation. Now you're pulling back into support and it's holding. Now you're seeing this. So no, I would not be a seller on this at all. There is not a technical setup to sell this. This is super bullish. However, is it like it's not yet overbought enough for me to buy or start selling it? It's got to be over 95. It has to be super overdone in order for me to want to sell a bullish asset. This is not super overdone. In fact, they bought right where they should have, right where they always do. Yeah, I mean, no, I would not sell it just because it's trading into November's open. It is an objective level to mitigate risk around, but it is not a weak asset. It has not been weak for weeks. Right? The midpoint is well above last week's high. So this is not only just a short squeeze, it's like a legit breakout. Like it's got legit demand. So I don't like stepping in front of objective levels just because it's an objective level. There has to be overall signal, like weakness. This is strength. There's not much, there's not like a lot of, like this thing hasn't been trading for that long. So it doesn't have, yeah, it doesn't even have a 200 or a 100 EMA. But this RSI is not bearish, it's bullish. The bearish trade for me on this would have been right here. The only bearish trade for me would have been right here. So since this day was bearish and traded way above that high, I would have gotten stopped out of that short, but I would have still liked the short as long as it was closing days under the 50. So on this day right here, it would have been breaking out above, right? But I still would have been okay to take the short right here. I would have been stopped out again. And at this point, since that's a higher high, I would not have been looking for the short again. In fact, that was an absolute picture perfect buying opportunity. picture perfect. That would have been the best trade to make on Lab USDT. It would have been a buy right there. And you had 2 days, 2 whole days to get an, or at least there was a period there of about 40 hours. There was a couple buying opportunities in there. But no, it's not a sell now. Just because it's going into November. Now, if it gets up into November, and then tomorrow it pushes above and closes back under, then maybe, and only maybe, could you start looking for a short. Right here, right now, you're pissing in the wind, trying to short every single swing high. It is getting overbought, though. I will give you that. So I would need at least another couple days here of proof. Just blindly winging out a short right there would no, not for me. But it is overbought. I get it. So it probably will correct here, but getting a perfect trade-off will be so hard. Now, if today, like for instance, say it chops for the rest of these 3 hours, which I doubt it's going to do that because you're already trading well above the previous 4-hour swing high, but say it does. Say it doesn't make a higher high in the next 3 hours. Then and only then could you watch that prior 4-hour swing high for potential short setups, but you do not short it if it is trading above it. It's got to go up above it and then reject, and then you can throw the short out. So you should only try to short this one time today. And that is only if it does not go above this. It goes above that. Crypto assets are so freaking crazy and volatile sometimes. It does not respect technical levels, especially if it's like in the midst of a short squeeze. I've seen crypto assets move 30% in a single second before when they start getting volatile. That is an account blowing trade to be on the wrong side of that. This seems very bullish right now. And since Ethereum is doing good, generally whenever Ethereum does okay, that means alts are having a pretty good day. So we do see random alts down here having a good day. Some aren't. Some are red, but some are having a fantastic day. That's MU. Let's go down here. Oh, yeah, not many, but some, right? River's up 41%. Some are having a fantastic day. Yeah, this is not looking like a short either. I think someone asked about this one the other day, but I think they were talking about a long-term long op. I don't know. Yeah, be careful if you're with that lab. It's right now it's moving, and it's moving good. Let's go look at the total 3 real quick. Not really doing nothing. But some things are doing good and some aren't. I guess it's asset specific today. But Ethereum overall is up. It's up and it's above yesterday's high. That's a bullish sign, not bearish. As long as it's trying to trend above yesterday's high, it makes it very, very dangerous to try to look for shorts. In fact, if it was going to be a short, it probably would have just peekabooed above the high and then stopped, and then you would have seen a downside move, right? But because it did way more than just peekaboo, put in a much higher swing and closed above. That's strength, not weakness. Yeah, some things look good. Bitcoin not as good as Ethereum today. It's trying to get up on the day, but struggling. I can't believe that's happening. Yeah, Fartcoin not looking like a short anymore, is it? Yeah, as long as Ethereum is up, shorting alts is going to be problematic. Dominance chart isn't up. I mean, it's not weak though. So the dominance chart is like just basically setting right dead smack in the middle of the range. Right smack where it opened. Yeah, it could be a short, but it's not. It doesn't fit anything that I would be looking for the short for. Remember, we don't just randomly short big objective levels because they are big objective levels. We short big objective levels when the signal is to short it. Then we will look at those big objective levels to center our positions around. We're not looking to short a bullish asset at an objective level. That's last month's high. That's your December high right there. And clearly people bought it. This is the 7 a.m. candle. So people bought it this morning after 7 a.m. But this is just now starting to rock and roll. Look at that. That is what I would have, like, I would have rather you bought December's high than you sell November's open. Does that make sense? That would have been the better trade. In hindsight, it wouldn't have looked like a good trade to jump in front of it there, but it was a technical long. Yeah, looks okay. I'm sure people are selling it. Let's see. Yeah, you got a lot more selling today than buying, according to that daily delta. But here, on the 4-hour delta, it's hugely volatile. Yeah, this makes selling it very difficult. That's super bullish. And then finally, let me pull up Lab on weeks just to see what the funding rate looks like. Lab is up 35%. And you're paying. Shorts are paying the longs on Lab. So more retail traders are trying to short Lab than buy it. I never want to be on the side of retail. I like being on the other side. It's up 35% and overbought pretty huge on the 4-hour. So I would assume a correction is coming soon. I just don't know when. It could be any minute now, or it could be 5 hours from now before you get that move. So just be careful, be patient. Don't be worried about missing anything. I thought it looks like it's about to peter out. It could be. That 4-hour is freaking overbought. Let me explain. Like, I don't usually want to get involved until 90 or 95 because that's pretty much like you're banging max on the indicator, right? Getting pretty close to 100 is the top on this thing. It can't go any higher. So that's generally what we're looking for. Something as close to the top as possible. It's up there. Like, it's closer to being maxed out than it is not. So you're right. It probably is going to pull back soon. You can trade this, right? Just don't lose too much money doing it. You can try to take a short on it. It could work. You could put the short on there at that November open and it could make you a lot of money. Anything can happen. But yeah, it's pretty bullish right here. But you're right, it's probably getting close to petering out. I agree. Yeah, dude, this is late in AM, just looking for participation trade, not pressured to get in a large position. Good job. That's it. Keep that attitude. I like that. Yeah, in theory, bro, you could watch that 4-hour swing high. If it cannot go back above that, you could look for that participation trade on this because it is so overbought on the 4-hour. Yeah, you're right. There probably is a pullback coming. It might not be like a huge move, but this thing's up 35%. So if you just get 1 or even 2 4-hour candles in your direction, you'll make money because it's up 35%. But whenever these things get up 35%, it always scares me a little bit because it only needs to go. I mean, it won't take much for it to be up 80%. And it could happen even at an 82, right? It could happen because it could go up another 60% from here and only register a 91 on the RSI. That's what's so crazy about this. But yeah, it's getting pretty close to being done. So I would watch that prior 4-hour swing high and then that November open if I was hard pressed to put it on. Yeah, you retrace that entire 30-minute range right there. That's good, but it's super volatile. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see a higher 5-minute close above this. In fact, I wouldn't even want to see a higher high. What I would want to see is this thing push up to here and immediately start to reject. Because it's moving quite a bit. That's not that bad. 2.5%. Yeah, something like that, right? It just barely get up there and then immediately start heading in that direction. Show us that it's potentially about to blow off. Because it was super volatile. Yeah, I don't even know. For some reason, this thing sounds familiar. It's relatively new. It just started trading in October. Oh, I bet we've seen it here. I bet it probably got on the radar back here when it had that huge move in October. Yeah, it looks like a rounding bottom. Yeah, crazy stuff. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll be around if you need me, just holler. Thank you guys so much for being here. As always, I really appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.